It's the Slam Dunk.
So Peters has ruled out working with Labour if Hipkins is the leader. Normally this might be quite big news and the news staff media have rushed off to tell you all this with big headlines. But Peters ruled out working with Labour in 2023 and then 3 months before that even. So he's ruled them out twice in the past 3 years and this one's now the third time. But it comes with the added caveat that he rules out working with them if Hipkins is still in charge. Winston isn't and was never going to work with Labour. Simple as that. This only confirms it once more. Still, it's forced Hipkins to respond, and not that convincingly.
I think, frankly, New Zealanders have had enough of being held to ransom by Winston Peters and David Seymour. I think they want to get back to the idea that the government's there to serve people rather than serve themselves, which, Winston Peters, frankly, is a master at.
The thing is, Peters was never going to work with Labour. All it does is show us the two blocks on offer. Have a look at this. One of them is a vote for Peters, ACT, and a national-led government under Christopher Luxon, but pushed to rule out Peters. Hipkins was weak. Asked if Peters was racist, Hipkins was really weak. Here's Hipkins' problem. When the public's crying out for its politicians to stand for something, Hipkins has fallen into the trap of standing for virtually not much at all. It's a death spiral when this sort of thing happens.
So are you willing then to rule him out? I mean, he's already said no to you, so surely there's no harm now in you saying, you know what, when he...
Well, I did that before the last election, and I said that I think it's highly unlikely that's going to change before the next election.
I know, but they're highly unlikely is not, is it?
Well, I said we'll set it out before the...
You said he's a tobacco lobbyist. You said that he's basically racist. He's a pale version of Donald Trump, and he's ruled you out. Why?
Well, that's quite a good summary, actually. I think that's not too bad at all. But look, the reality here is I think, New Zealanders have had enough of the country being held to ransom by Winston Peters.
So put us out of our misery.
So it's pretty clear now. If you vote for Winston Peters, you're voting for Christopher Luxon, David Seymour and Winston Peters to continue to run their coalition of chaos.
You're saying definitively you will not work with Winston Peters either.
I'm saying exactly the same thing that I've been saying
all along.
Look, I mean, we'll set that out before the election because, I'm not going to get into the specifics of individual parties.
Yeah, but you said
we'll get asked about that because then you'll ask me about other parties.
Is he
I'm not in a position to do that?
Is he racist or not?
Oh, I just think Winston Peters has got such backwards views on a whole lot of things.
But you'd still
he's
work
more
with
interested in a culture war than he is in actually leading the country forward.
But you'd still work with him.
Look, I said it's highly unlikely our position on that's going to change.
The funny thing...
Oh dear, no. That's no. Hipkins was given the chance to be a big boy there. Instead, he minced around and gave himself all sorts of outs. He comes across as gutless, wimpy, and afraid to offend anyone. So far, it's Peters 1 and Hipkins 0 in this battle today. But here's the bit that Peters wants rammed home. A vote for Labour is a vote for this. You get the delusional high-spending Greens and the mad separatist into Party Māori. And that's a problem for Hipkins. Big problem. The Greens' economic credibility was shredded in its recent budget release. And Te Pāti Māori are about as popular as a new COVID outbreak. And here's Hipkins' real issue. The Greens look loopy, irresponsible and flaky in their latest budget release. Well, what would be the price of a Te Pāti Māori party and coalition? Would they play by the rules? Or would they lose their shit and hold the country to ransom? And do it all via TikTok? They are the biggest noose around the neck for Hipkins. They're the biggest problem for Hipkins and returning Labour to power. On the Greens, he was nowhere near strong enough.
OK, what about the Greens? What about the 88 billion in new taxes?
Oh, look...
Some of them, not all of them?
I think the Greens' overall package is unrealistic. I think they're trying to do too much too quickly, and I don't think that New Zealand basically could cope with that level of upheaval. So I think it is unrealistic trying to do all of that all at once.
Unrealistic? What? It's deluded, Chris. And it would bankrupt us and send everyone fleeing for Australia. Laugh at it, Chris. It's a joke. Your mild approach is making us pull our hair out on this. Hipkins needs to and needed to take a much stronger stance on this with the Greens and with Te Pāti Māori. It would make him look much stronger and in short, Te Pāti Māori should have ruled them out. He needed to rule out Te Pāti Māori. Anything less is not good enough for middle New Zealand. They're the ones that are going to end up voting for Labour. He needed to look like the boss, but instead he looks like a wuss. That he can't and won't renders him weak and pointless and looks like Te Pāti Māori are pulling the strings. Hipkins too meek, too mild, too pussy to put them in their place. Too desperate to be in power, so he tolerates their outrageous separatist rule-breaking antics and nonsense. Chris, here's a message from me. It looks weak. It looks like they have their hand up your back. Labour doesn't even believe in the 21-day ban for Te Pāti Māori's co-leaders. They want a 24-hour ban only. Sorry, Chris, that looks like nonsense, and it shows how desperate you are to keep them on side. Do you really support their behaviour? Is this your position or is it Willie Jackson's? And it's what Willie Jackson told you you must do. By Peters putting today's caveat in of Hipkins, it just drives home the message that they still have the old COVID minister in charge, and that's also a problem. Imagine if Labor moved to replace Hipkins, just to keep Winston interested. There's no guarantee from Winston that he'd work with Labor as a result. So it's all a bit unsettling for Labor. This has been done with the intention of stirring things up, and he's done it. So once again, we highlight the impossible for Hipkins, which is the situation I've outlined. How can Hipkins win the popular vote when, as the Minister of COVID, he told us we were front of the queue for the vaccine when we were nowhere near it? It's hard to forget, isn't it? How could Labor possibly think that we've forgotten? Peters was never going to work with Labor because it's likely that when he campaigns again, he'll be campaigning to have a greater influence in a national-led government. Hell, given the way Luxton's performing, Peters might try and become the biggest party and therefore take the Prime Minister's role. Don't ever rule it out. Don't ever think that Winston's not thinking about that situation. But what Peters' statements have done today is remind us just what's on offer next election. And if Hipkins is going to make, if he's going to make it, he'll have to rely on Chloe Swarbrick, Marama Davidson, Debbie Naliwapaka and Rawiri Waititi. Just when you thought this current lot weren't flash, what on earth would the centre-left government look like? Well, here it is. And what would Māori get? Who would have the backs of ordinary old hard-working Kiwis? What new higher taxes would be introduced? Which ones wouldn't? Capital gains, wealth tax, income tax, inheritance tax, land tax, farmers tax, cow tax, car tax. Social welfare's okay, pension okay. How would we earn our money? Unemployment up or down? Higher interest rates, higher spending, activists in the cabinet controlling the levers and the money. That's why Peters threw a hand grenade out this morning, to see how it would play out, to see what happened. He knew how this would play out. Hipkins reacted not very well, and the rest is history. Peters 2, Hipkins 0.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.